bike industry went really haywire when the internet came on, and at that point it was every man for himself. There were no rules. People were selling stuff at cost on eBay. I had kids guys that I worked with were stealing stuff from the bike shop and selling it on eBay. We'd find them selling stuff on eBay under the table. I mean, it was just things were just nuts.
That's how I got fired from that bike shop job, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes. See, you know exactly what I'm talking about, man.
That's something to be proud about. Yeah. You got to put that on your T-shirts.
Were you buying stuff at cost instead? Did you have your own store, or what were you doing?
Employee purchase. It was great. Another Specialized tie-in. It was employee purchase with Specialized, and I'd sell 6 months later or 3 months later, and then buy. It's just every 3 months I needed to have a new bike.
And then you dump it, right?
Dump it right.
I remember seeing I remember something very specific. I went. This is back in the day, but I remember going online to buy bike pedals, just like clipless, like Ultegra or whatever the hell they were, and they were 20% or 10% cheaper than they were at the bike store, and on the Shimano website or whatever. And I was like, how is this possible? They must be knockoffs or this or whatever. And then I realized, no, people are just getting deals, or they get a box or a bulk, or I don't know what they're doing, but there was a lot of that.
Well, there was a lot of gray market. So there was a lot of stuff that was coming in from overseas where they get stuff cheaper. And, there were a lot of reasons for it, but a lot of it was employee theft. Let's face it. There was a lot back in those days, man, there was a lot of that.
I think it wasn't great ways to track that. I think it was only, they found me, someone at Specialized found me out. And it was I had posted a review for a White Brothers like RC something or other fork, in 97 that I had. And then I had an account set up with that, and I had said that I worked at a shop or something in that a few years prior. And then I was selling stuff on mtbr.com.
Oh, there you go.
Remembers that site. That was pre-eBay.
Yeah.
And so I would always get the newest S-Works. And so I had the S-Works FSR XC, my only full suspension.
Nice.
I haven't tried full suspension since. But so it was like their first cross country mountain bike racer. That was also full suspension, so it was super light. And the rear triangle folded on me a few months in, and so I got a replacement for it. But then I put it on there and sold it anyway. And I had a hardtail S-Works right before that, and I had that on there. And so someone from Specialized called up my boss at the bike shop and was like, you got to get rid of this guy.
Oh, no. Ronnie's been a bad boy.
Because
Ronnie's been a bad boy.
There was a time where they kind of caught on, and that they were sending those notices to bike shops, and they were trying to enforce these things. But the bike shop was real. The bike companies were super guilty of using bike shops that were selling on eBay as their get rid of stuff. They're because they were totally using
a blind eye. And
absolutely they were
whatever they couldn't move, they're just put it online.
Oh, because they knew I worked at another shop where my boss would just buy 1,000. He would just clear out a SKU of something. It'd be 1,000 handlebars, or send me 500 sets of Mavic wheels. The whole shop would be
God.
The shop would just be swimming. And that's all we do in the winter is sell stuff on eBay.
In Chicago for sure.
Yeah. We became an eBay store in the winter. We got super good with posting stuff. And we were all experts on eBay. And we're shipping internationally, and stuff was going to Australia
overnight.
You could have been the pros closet.
That's right. That's right.
You could have had $4 billion in funding or whatever they had.
Yes. What a story.
Ronnie, I always say that the visionaries in the bike industry are owners of bike shops. They're not great businessmen, but they're visionaries, man.
That's true.
They suck at business, but they know the business, and they know what's going on, and they've always hated the bike companies. Like my old boss has always hated the bike companies. He hated the bike companies, still does, but he never trusted them, and with good reason. Now that I'm a bike shop owner, I totally understand why he didn't trust the bike companies. And but the guys that really know bikes and the guys that really know the industry are doing it. They didn't leave to become a bike rep. They didn't leave to go work at do PR at a bike company. They stayed in the bike shop and kept it real, and like you said was, we didn't make any money. That's the problem. In the business, like you created a job for yourself. You weren't rich. Yeah. None of these guys are rich. Maybe some make a little bit more money than others. And the guys that are good businesssmen, well, they own the online companies, right? They own the Jensens and the Colorado Cyclists and all that stuff. Those guys are the businessmen who understand bikes, but there's only a handful of those guys, Yeah, man.
Not to us. Sorry, go ahead, Ronnie.
I was just going to mention that I've saved all of my Colorados. Those were the best catalogs as far as quality goes. Yeah. As far as the paper weight and all that, everything else, I saved all those catalogs from the late 90s. I still have stacks of them in my parents' house. It's fun to go through and see, and just be like, okay, this was like, use them for reference at this point. It's see the original prices and see what you want to.
One of my favorite things is looking at old bike magazines. Like I have some old Winnings and some stuff like that, and I read them over and over, cover to cover. It's a little bit weird. I love it. I just wanted to ask, like, what are you doing? Switching acoustic gears a little bit. What are you doing right now with your life, with your online presence, with what have you? Because according to your gram, you're still riding in amazing, beautiful, idyllic places and having these amazing adventures. What's kind of going on right now? Are you doing that kind of full time? Like what is it and what does it look like? It seems like you're moving around a good deal.
Yeah, I still try to move around as much as I can. From going from, especially once I started with Specialized after the Business Insider viral article, I was able to quit the boat entirely and do the Specialized and sell T-shirts. and so at that point I was just full time on the bike with, I met somebody, who's still with me, my partner, Aria, and her and I, were on the bikes, touring bikes full time, year round. We would come back she's from Connecticut also. So we would come back to Connecticut for maybe a month per year to visit family. But the rest of the year we were either riding our bikes to somewhere or packing our bikes up in boxes, getting on trains or planes or somewhere else to go on our bikes. Just living on the bike full time, which seemed totally normal at the time to us. But when I think about it now, I was like, wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was, so we did that for 4 years. And then after, in the meantime, I was kind of still developing my brands and my own businesses. And so I was able to take that money from Specialized and put it towards my bags and start my own bag business. And so the Fab's Chest at Ron's Bikes, there's my tag.
Oh, please go for it. Yeah. You can plug it all day. No shame here, man.
Yeah, I was looking at it.
What was it again? Could you say it again?
Ronsbikes.com. That's ronsbikes.com.
Love it.
And is that all bags, Ronnie?
That's all bad. We sell all sorts of weird things. I do bags. I do handlebars. I do frames. I do shoes. I do tires. I have some apparel.
Oh wow!
I do gloves. It's apparel, hats, caps, of course, T-shirts, and a few. I also have a tire company, ULTRADYNAMICO.
I was going to ask you about that. So I actually came across those tires on a Spanish website. You got your Spanish distributor right in Barcelona, is that right?
We do, yeah.
Girona or Barcelona area somewhere.
Yeah, the service course in Girona. Yeah.
Oh, service course does it.
Yeah. And Legor Mattia.
Oh, Legor Sikli, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's been
a supporter from the beginning. Yeah.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, we have a pretty good European. I'm pretty proud of that because being a former road cyclist and very much into the Eurocentric part of road cycling, having our products in Europe is like a really cool thing for me.
Well,
it's like,
it's totally cool. So I saw that, and I actually thought it was a Spanish company because they were doing such a good job of promoting your tires. And I said to Danny, I think he's riding a Spanish tire. And
I was like, really?
Yeah.
The names are a lot. I think that was one of our. We use the Spanish wine for one in particular.
Yes.
I think it was actually like a Catalonian wine, the Cava. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I thought that's why I thought it was a Spanish brand. So I was like, wow, he's got he's sponsored by a Spanish tire company.
Yeah. We're farm to rim. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was like, I can't keep up. I'm not sure what he's got. He's got a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot going on.
I have strong ties. I have strong ties to Spain. I spent like 5 seasons racing over there when I was younger, like in the summers.
Cool.
I worked at the bike shop. I worked at the bike shop, and then I worked at a cool bike shop, racer-centric bike shop, and they'd let me blow off in the summer, and it was the opposite, and they'd hire me back during the downtime. So it's very odd, very
cool.
kind of special situation.
Good setup.
Yeah. And so I like pay attention to what's going on over there, and they love you over there, man. You have a big following over there. So
we travel to Europe. Well, prior to the last few years, we were traveling to Europe quite a bit. So we made a lot of friends over there.
Are you doing organized stuff over there, or are you just kind of going for fun?
Just touring, going for fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. And a few events and things like that. Just hanging out with folks. And so, met some good friends there. And so, just doing all that stuff and developing the brands on the road. And, I think I got my own phone number, so I didn't have to rely on the iPod Touch. Yeah. So cell service, that helps with a little
bit. We'll do a fist bump because I still have my New York number. I lived in New York for a long time. And so I still have my 347. And so when you sent me yours, I'm like, 347, what's up? So right now, would you say what percentage of of your time do you have to spend on like the businesses and the brands and stuff? And how much do you still get to do just go out and ride and camp and do all that stuff?
It's percentage wise. Well, I mean, now we're, I should go on from that continuing on from the 4 years on the bike. We moved on to getting less and less time on the bike after that on the touring bike, still riding other bikes, of course, but spending more time in Connecticut. Our parents are getting older, and so we wanted to spend more time with them. And when the pandemic hit, we were traveling in a secret van. I never told anybody about. I didn't want to have a van life account. I didn't want to have any van content.
Is this a scoop for our podcast? Is this previously unknown?
In the van.
Yeah.
This guy's not on a bike
It's
anymore.
no van life, right? Hashtag no van life.
No van life. So for 3 solid years, so we saved up enough to buy a van, and that was like we wanted to have like more of like a space that we can call our home. And so that was I had never bought an automobile before either. So that was like a first home and automobile purchase at once. And so I was like, wow, I'm really, I'm 15 years old. I'm really growing up now.
A lot changed since the Business Insider bicycling articles.
So we move into the van for 3 years, and then the pandemic hits, and we were about to we had a bunch of stuff on the back burner doing like media stuff for Brooks Saddles and Crust, like this team that we had put together. We were about to do Mid-South. This is 2 years, I guess, right when about 2 years ago exactly. And so the shit hits the proverbial fan, and we go and we're in Connecticut for 2 years after that. And while we were in Connecticut, we bought a house. And all this stuff that I was warning people of in the Business Insider article I started doing.
Well, I was going to say we have to retract that article.
Take it back.
No, it's all good. We all go forward, and But no, it sounds great. Congratulations. It sounds amazing.
Good.
Are you really happy with like the balance you have now and what's going on?
It's still a good balance. That's always been it. Bikes are, as you were saying, bikes have been something that it's a constant in my life since I was conscious of them, and it's something that I can't imagine my life without. And I serve the bicycle. It's my God. And so I'm here for that. And I enjoy every aspect of bikes still. And it never gets old for me. Yeah. I never tire of riding bicycles, and so it's bicycle, as long as it's bicycle related or something that I can get excited about that doesn't exist, that's bicycle related that I want to make. It's still like I end up working a lot on these things, on these designs and whatnot, but it's something that I want to do. And it's, as long as it's something I want to do, I don't care how much time I have to spend on it. I'll do it. And especially when you get to ride that and test it out. And I love the process of it all and sharing it, taking the process photos, I love all aspects of what I do. And so while I am a lot busier than I once was, and it is stressful at times. I'd still say I get to, I still ride every day. I still get to put in 3 hours on the bike every day.
Wow, 3. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah. I'm jealous.
We live in the woods, so it's I just walk out the door and I'm on a back road already. So there's no junk miles or anything. We got trails all around us. It's a beautiful place in Connecticut where we live.
That's amazing. Small little footnote. A gentleman I'm sure you're familiar with, Dan Timmerman.
Of course.
I did a little piece about, and it was all about his living off the grid. I don't know if he's still doing that, but he and his partner were living in just a little cabin, and they're literally off the grid. And he was still racing cyclocross, stands, no tubes, and all of that. But kind of a kindred spirit, maybe in a little way to kind of what you're doing.
He has his own company. He has his own outdoor apparel company,
like the jackets and the lightweight, but really
he does all extra lightweight stuff. So he does. He actually does jackets for us that we sell.
Okay, so that's amazing because
collaborate with him.
I was like, are you guys like hanging out, connected a little bit? Because he started doing that, and he's a fascinating guy too. He kind of reminds me of you in some ways, like just I don't know, just has a really good head on his shoulders, and he very astute and just very learned, and like still goes out and rips it and shreds.
Yeah, he's so fast. Yeah,
he's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you're doing the frames and you're doing the tires, and you've got this business going on, and obviously there's a lot of problems going on right now with the supply chain. Are you guys running into some of that too on the business side? In that world. How is it for you guys getting product?
It's a lot of our stuff. A lot of our stuff, with the exception of, we do a lot of domestic stuff, which is great because we've never our bags, which is the bulk of our income, are made in our home state in Connecticut, of Connecticut made materials.
Wow.
So everything is in our tiny state. So we've never had any problems with, other than the people in our factory just getting sick or something. We haven't had any issues with the bags, so to speak. But when it comes to the tires, our tires are made by Panaracer in Japan.
Oh, okay.
And when we had just launched our brand 3 years ago. And so we have a little bit of data, sales data before the pandemic and before the bike boom, and a little bit, but it's not usable, of course. And then of course, everything blows up, and we have this new company, and we're selling through all of our tires and whatever. And of course, you run out, and then what used to be, we could sign off on a purchase order. We could even design a tire, sign off on a purchase order, and have them put into production, shipped all the way from Japan back to us. That process would maybe be 3 to 4 months before the pandemic. And now, even at this point, we ordered tires for our, we have a shipment coming in, and hopefully in next month. We had to place this order 1.5 years ago.
Wow.
And so you go from, and we don't have any data on how these specs sell. A lot of these lot of these specs are brand new, like a new model, a new size, a new compound, a new casing. And so you have no idea how they're going to sell. But you've got to think ahead a year and a half from now and be like, well, it's like throwing numbers. You're just like, okay, all right. Okay. Wow. And so you want to be like, okay, that's going to end at some point, right? Like this can't go on forever. And I think a year and a half ago, we placed this order. Well, now this order is here. Well, we just placed another order and it's still 18 months out, 18-month lead time. And so it's not getting any better. That's the scary part.
Those are staggering lead times.
They're still in it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
do you have this?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, is this order already pre-sold? Everything that's coming in is already pre-sold?
No. We were able to, with tires, you order pretty big to save on shipping. With like for the first time, we're ordering big enough that we're going to actually have instead of air freight, we're going to be doing the long and take 3 months for it to get here from Japan. That's the other downside so we have to send some ahead, air freight, so we can have tires to sell. And then you wait for the other ones on the slow boat.
Yeah.
But no, not pre-sold. We have a few dealers that we pre-sell to, but we just make sure that we have what we have now has got to last us a year and a half. So, you gotta be like, okay, this is that you can't. It's impossible. You
swallow
can't.
and go for it. Right?
You just go for it. Yeah, it's really freaking scary. Because you get a business line of credit, $250,000 or whatever, and you're throwing around numbers like this, and we're just two people. It's just my friend Patrick and I. We're like, okay, well, we got to throw all that out there and hope we sell them.
Yeah, man.
So yeah. And when it comes to the Taiwanese, the frame that I do with Crust and the two handlebars that I do with Crust, the Romancer and my two handlebars, it's same, 18 months. And it's with Matt, I've become really good friends with Matt since his ferry trip out from Long Island. He's we end up doing a lot of stuff together. So him and I have most recently been working more with some US builders. We have just got a new builder here in Connecticut, and then Frank the Welder is doing some aluminum bikes for us up in Vermont, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, exciting, man.
We're finding now that I think what happened with Japan, you get out where Japanese bikes started off as like a cheaper alternative to the US and then became equally as expensive and now more expensive. The same was what you're seeing in Taiwan. So it's not even, what used to be like, the prices have gone up so much in Taiwan since we started producing bikes with Crust, in the 2015-16. Prices have gone up so much since then, like a third. And so the cost effectiveness of when you think of like all the headaches of having to get all your materials over there, have the bike, be like that disconnected from the production, all the mistakes that could be made, all of the mistakes that can be made with the shipping logistics from Taiwan over to here. You always lose frames. Nothing ever comes in completely intact. There's always something squished or ruined or missing or, or like a piece that they didn't braze or something, there's always something, always something. And so, when you're able to kind of, be closer to where those bikes are made, things tend to go a little bit smoother. Yeah. So we're all finding that it may even be more worth it just to start making stuff over here again.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Because it was just fantastic in a way. And I think it for a bigger brand, that would be, I guess, against their business model, profit over everything else. But I think it's just if you have people who are willing to spend a little bit extra, I try to think that's my customer, somebody who wants to buy right by once kind of thing, So it's like something a little more expensive, but you could trace where it came, the story behind it, and like people want to know, that you've used the highest quality materials, that person was paid a living wage and this, that, and that. And so I think the whole story that you could bake into the product that you're selling at this point now is something that people can latch their values onto, and something that's exactly what I want. And so I just assume that other people want the same thing, I guess.
Well, that's exciting because as my shop, and I'm probably not the only shop. I know I'm not the only shop that's thinking this way, to know that there are brands out there that are, going to be supplying us, or that will be able to supply us with the stuff that we want to sell domestically,
right.
people that are kind of with the same mindset, that's really exciting. That's like something that I think you're going to have a lot of people to get on board with. I think a lot of that right now is, it seems to me that it's just individuals kind of finding you, buying a frame, like these enthusiasts that are like building things in their own basement or their own garage. But I can see it expanding into shops where, you've got 6 crusts on the wall, and it's like, which one do you want? Right. And I'm just thinking about what I could do in my shop with something like that. That's really exciting. It would be nice to spend the next 15 or 20 years of my bike shop life doing what I did in my first 15 or 20 years of my bike shop life, right?
It's all coming back.
It's all coming back. No, I mean, and it's really, it's the thing that's keeping me excited about maybe sticking around in the bike business, because honestly, before the pandemic, we were dying. It was a slow death. Bike shops were kind of dying to sleep.
It really was.
It was just, there was less every year. There would be some guy retiring and some really kick-ass bike shop that would just kind of wither away. And nobody knew the great. I'd go and pick through their bones. I have so many tool sets right now because I just go and pick up.
That's a good deal.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's a good deal. I have 2 spoke cutters at my shop right now. I got one of the wheel. I got I could, when I opened the bike shop, I had to get like a Japanese spoke cutter, which was a nice spoke cutter. But then a local shop went out of business. I ended up with the one I always wanted, which was the Wheelsmith, the classic Wheelsmith spoke cutter. And because I couldn't afford that when I was opening the bike shop, so to have seen those guys go out the way that they did, and I was just like, man, it's not fair that they had to go out like, that way.
Yeah, you just missed it.
And there were a handful of guys in the last couple of years, man, they were able to sell everything and like drop the mic and walk out of the business on a high, because they were able, they were selling the last bike they had in the shop, the bike that they haven't been able to sell for 15 years. They were selling that. They got full stroke. Like full.
We just sold that ProFlex.
Yes, yeah, at the full retail price.
Lights go off.
Oh, dude, I swear to God, there were people selling like everything in the shop, like the bike.
Fake smoke comes out.
And literally locking the door and saying goodbye. I'm retiring.
It's like when someone buys like a microwave at Walgreens or something.
Yeah, they were.
Employees are like, oh my God, someone bought that.
I know a couple of guys that did that, man. They were like, moldy old box in the basement, drag it out, build it.
It's got character.
Oh, and they sold it, man. And they sold it. And
funny.
It's been a kind of a crazy couple of years in the bike world. But I think right now when the dust settles, I think there's a real place for what you're doing, and and I think there's a lot of people that are, from what I've seen and the people that I've talked to, there are a lot of really like-minded people in the bike industry right now that just can't wait to get back to our essential. Being essential and being an essential business forced us to do the essential things, like the basic things. And it turns out that everybody wanted the basic things from us. It's just like the most basic shit is really what people wanted. That's it, and it's allowed us to go back to kind of our roots and like find ourselves again. And it's given me a little confidence going forward to just be like, this is what I do. This is, it got me through doing this basic stuff is still super in demand, maybe even more so now. And I think this is the way forward. Whether it's, that's what I think it is. We'll see what happens. But, hearing you talk about that is like, it confirms where I'm at, and a lot of people are, a lot of like-minded. There are a lot of like-minded people out there, I'm part of like that NBDA, the National Bicycle Dealers Association, and they have a cool thing going on. They do like these weekly meetings, with some dealers, with some influential dealers around the country, or people that care to just get on this call. And so I hear a lot of guys my age where, they're talking about that. They're talking in a similar way, or they're just done with it. And I think I think there's some bright times ahead of us, and bright in the bike industry means just being able to make a living doing what we love to do.
Yeah,
it's not that we want to buy a yacht. I don't want to buy a yacht. I don't even want a Corvette. I don't want nothing. I just want to
buy a yacht shop next.
You're not trying to fly into space.
No, I just want to earn a living. That's it. I just want to earn a living and get my wife off my case,
Uh-oh, edit that out.
No, she knows it. She knows it. She knows 100%, man. That's what.
No BS here in Chicago, Roman.
No.
No, man. There's so many of us like that in the bike industry.
Thanks for listening to the Bike Shop Society podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with us, email us at mail@bikeshopsociety.com. If you're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you can look us up at Bike Shop Society. That's it. Get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Now, back to the show. Goodbye.
Just like coming back from, if anybody's been to, I was just at the Mid-South gravel race, and I'm not one for doing any of these races or anything. I like to just go and hang out. And because it is such a scene, and getting to see, especially now, getting to see all these people again for the first time in 2 years, and hopping around the way that we did, always on the road, always traveling, we developed these really rich bonds with people in the bike industry that you see, a few times a year, but you really get to. You get to go for rides. You go to all the events. You go to the restaurants. You're getting treated to whatever it's the VIP treatment that you were getting together or whatever, and it really bonds you. So you get the it's just cool to see all these people again and hear their ideas or whatever they've come up with in these past 2 years of being disconnected from the rest of the world, and a lot of people starting up their own bike brands, and a lot of frame builders that I know that are, doing stuff in Taiwan now and starting their own brands. And it's just a cool, it's a lot of enthusiasm behind it. I know these people personally. I know they love to ride bikes, and you think about how disconnected most bigger bike brands that we've had to sell over the years and promote over the years, like how disconnected they are from the actual experience of riding. Like who are you actually talking to? It's so cool, like how small the bike industry can be when it's condensed digitally into Instagram, for instance, whereas how we're all marketing our own stuff, we all know one another, and chances, and it's like, I could buy, for all of its downsides, which there are way more downsides than there are positives, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to marketing your own stuff and selling your stuff direct to people, there's no more personal way of doing that. I could buy something from somebody and know that they designed it and they ride it every day. That's so cool.
I love
and so,
Yeah, I know. Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, when you were talking, they reminded me, I think, the word community gets thrown around a lot, but I think there is a sense of community that I get, at least. I remember going to NABS. I went to NABS 3 or 4 years in a row, and oh my God, it was so cool going to NABS. It was just it was like going to the auto show, but way more fun. And it was just, you walk around, you can see Ben Serrata, you can see Andy Hempston, you can see these rando people from wherever, I have a frame company, and just talking to these people, and then go back the next year and there they are. And I don't know, I always love that. Have you been to the Handmade Bike Show, either of you?
I haven't, but
yes.
It's pretty cool. Actually, John Prawley, or John Watson, I remember he was shooting it 1 year a lot, and I saw his photos. I'm like, I need to go to this show, and then I ended up going. And it was so fun because if you're just used to seeing the mass-produced stuff, and then you go there and you're like, whoa, I want an independent cross bike, just beautiful stuff. I don't even know. Are they still doing NABS? I can't even remember.
Yeah, there's Colorado this year, right? Denver, I think.
Colorado this year. Yeah, they didn't. I remember the when Don Walker sent the promoter, when he sent the notice. It was 2 years ago, right before the pandemic. He was the first one to cancel. He canceled NABS, and we're before anyone, for something called the coronavirus. Everyone's like, "What the fuck is that?" It's just Don Walker. He didn't fill up any of the boots. He had to cancel the event.
He's making stuff up now. He's making up viruses, conspiracy theories.
That's classic. classic bike promoter, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a virus. There's a virus.
Totally.
I think I would say if people go to one bike show, they go to NABS. I thought NABS was really well done. I haven't been to it in a few years, admittedly, but
yeah, it goes up and down. I mean, the last one I went to was when they had it in Hartford, Connecticut, here, obviously. And so that was like 4 years ago or something. Mm-hmm. And it was big. It was like the attendance had been down a lot the year prior. And I remember it being like Hartford of all places in February. That's where you want to have this. You want to fly people in from all over the world to hang out in Hartford in February.
Yeah.
And so, it was packed. I couldn't believe it. We had a booth and we just jabbered all damn day.
Awesome.
And I will say the best bike show nowadays though is the Philly Bike Expo.
Oh, I would be remiss if I didn't say that. That's a good one too.
The Philly Bike Expo is way more down to earth. The Belinky family does it all. Bina is the main promoter, but of course it's the whole family, and you could always tell who a Belinky is because they all look like they're twins.
Yes,
it's like this. They're
well, they have the bike shop too in Philly, right?
Yeah.
And he had his. I might be thinking of someone else, but didn't he also have his own bikes, or am I thinking of someone else? Yeah, their own bikes as well. Okay,
yeah.
No, that's a really good one. I was down there once when I lived in New York. I think I went to cover it for bicycling, if I'm not mistaken. But
I will say, like in the last few years, it's gotten a lot more. It's gotten a lot more. I don't know, not a lot more heavily promoted. It's definitely a lot more people, a lot more of a scene the last few years. It's grown pretty rapidly. I think it's
in a good way.
Very good.
Okay,
I think it's becoming. I think it's like quickly becoming like people on the East Coast. We don't get a lot of. You may feel the same way in Chicago. You just don't get a lot of attention. It's all in the Rocky Mountains in California, right?
Right.
Always.
So, always.
Joe, I think we got a road trip to the Philly Bike Expo.
I'd love to go. I'd love to go. I mean, I miss those old Interbike days. You know, the old Interbike.
The old Interbike days. Yeah. It's got a similar. Yeah, it's a much more family. It's just way more intimate.
Yeah,
and you also have it's the East Coast party. It's like the East Coast party.
Yes.
So for bikes on the East Coast, like Philly Bike Expo, like that's where everybody goes.
We got to get down there, and we'll all talk acoustics in person. IRL.
That's it.
And do you
always have a booth every year?
Awesome.
You do have a booth. You have a booth with everything with Crust and like a kind of combo booth.
We usually share a booth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we share a booth with Crust each year.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of fun. Philadelphia is a great city. It's a really good cycling city. It's got a lot of great riding, and it's got a great cycling scene.
And it's less than a 2-hour drive from New York. I mean, when I lived in New York, I didn't realize that until I went down to see the bike race, RIP, the Philly Classic.
Yeah,
I would go hang out on the Manayunk Wall. Yeah. I went down there like 3 or 4 years in a row, and it was amazing. I think I saw the last one. I don't know, but wow. Well, hopefully that comes back. I don't know.
That was a fantastic. That was a fantastic race. I mean, that national championships. The Europeans used to come in for that race. It was always like
it's really special.
It was super exciting, and. That Manayunk Wall was always
that was the place. That was I was always there.
Yeah. Every shot in Winning Magazine was always the Manayunk.
I want to say the last one I was at was I think Kiel Reinen won it, but I'd have to look that up. But and so this is random, but you've had all these adventures, and like I just look at your Instagram, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like living vicariously through you. And this is random, but like. You must have seen some crazy shit, like out doing that. I mean, wildebeest, Bigfoot. Like, you got any killer? Give us a killer story or
a killer story.
Something from that. I mean, you spent a lot of time under the stars, right?
Yeah. You spend a lot of time under the stars. You're bound to see something, especially when you're moving slowly across the landscape on a bicycle. And there'll be a lot of days where. You're expecting to, there'll be you'd be seemingly years that go by and nothing really remarkable as far as wildlife or, for how unpredictable that lifestyle seems like it, or spontaneous that lifestyle would be. Of course, there are spontaneous moments, but you get into it and it just be, like I was saying, it seems so wild to think back that we did that, 4 years of intense bike touring or whatever, and just living on a bike. And it just felt normal, and so things that would happen to you day to day would just seem like, oh, well, yep, there's a dead moose on the side of the road. Yep, just another day, or you just be like, okay, I met this guy, and he was camping off his motorcycle next to me, and he's dressed like Robert Redford, but he is homeless, and, and he looks, or like a really rich, fancy, like homeless guy on a motorcycle who I ended up seeing like he would just come to my campfire at night, and I'm alone, and he would just sit there, and whatever food I had, he would eat. Like I had a minor Cliff Bar sponsorship, or Cliff Bar just sent me like all of these pallets of Cliff Bars.
Did you get the peppermint ones?
Everything, everything. I like the my friends I had it shipped to my friend's house in Durango, and I was in Sedona, Arizona, camped out riding trails.
Horrible place to be.
Just a terrible place, never go. And so they drove it down, this pallets of Cliff Bars, and just left it next to my tent.
That's
just like a pallet of Cliff Bars. And I couldn't give them away quick enough. So I think that's must have attracted this guy in. And for 3 weeks, I've never seen anybody eat. I mean, we nearly went through I probably after like the first 2 boxes, I was like, I'm plugged up for the rest of my life here. This is not working.
I need a venti.
That guy would come and he'd eat like a box a day. And he for 5 years after that, I would see him randomly throughout the West, just like I'd be riding my bike through downtown Crested Butte or something. And then all of a sudden I hear this guy, "Hey, Ronnie!"
That is so cool.
Gotta be his name. I see him everywhere. I saw him in Moab. I saw him in Fruta. I saw him everywhere. I would see this guy years apart. No, he definitely wasn't like following me or anything.
It sounds like a novel. It's like you're just like you meet this character like chapters later, and it's like this mystery guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mystery guy. Yeah.
That's wild.
So as far as like, you see people like that just become like, especially before I met Arya, when I was traveling alone, you end up talking to a lot more people when you're traveling alone because you're lonely.
Yep.
And, just the people that I met and how I would meet back up with them randomly just because they were people on the road also. It's just like that. It's just bound to happen, I suppose, because you're all moving around, all that. There's only so many warm places you can go in the wintertime too, so it kind of condenses all the people into one area.
Yeah.
But as far as wildlife goes, I saw 2 mountain lions in like 1 month, which was pretty spooky, like really close up, and those are the kind of things that people say like, oh, you don't see mountain lions because they're once, they kill you first or something, you're like, fuck. And so, in California, and just,
that's
I'd never
crazy.
Seen them any other part, but, waking up and you like look out your tent and like one walks by, or like, you're just like, whoa, this is.
Did you have to change your underwear or what happened?
Yeah, it was, I remember one particular time I was talking on the phone to I think I was actually doing an interview, and
of course you were, Ronnie. Look at you now. Look at you.
Now look at me. I'm in this nice house.
Look at you.
You're a sellout, man. You're
sellout. Mountain lion. Hey, hold on a second. There's someone here. Hey, it's a mountain lion.
Dude, you're a huge success story to me, is what you are, man. And no. I mean, I truly, like, as a guy that's like, you're,
we're jealous.
Your age, and we came up at the same time.
We're jealous.
Like, this is it. This is like finally. This is hopefully, this is your time, and hopefully our time, where we can take advantage of the years that we've put into it, man.
That's it.
We don't want shit. We don't want anything. We just want to keep it real and make a living, right? I mean, that's it. It's like we don't want to screw anybody over. It's like when you look back, when you look back in your life, it's like, all that shit they tell kids these days, right? Like, follow your dreams and
you can do anything.
The thing that we a lot of old people get down on the millennials because they want to do what they're passionate about, or they want to do something that they care about, or that they're kind of sensitive. It's like, I listen to that sometimes and I think, wait a second, that sounds kind of like me. Or I just, I did what I loved to do, and I didn't really care how much I made. I just kind of did what I loved to do, and I try to be nice to people.
The key to that has got to be like just loving something with bikes, because that is like a cautionary tale. Like you do something you love for work, you're going to start hating it, because of course people are going to hate work, automatically you would just hate work. Like in the Business Insider article. We're conditioned to it. It's not something that we naturally do, And so it's when you find these things in the modern world that you love, and the bicycle intoxicates, because all of our friends, right? Everybody I hang out with. Yeah. And so, when you love something that much, and I know from speaking personally, like as I was touching on earlier, bicycles are just this, I'm here to serve the bicycle. Like I love the bicycle. And, when you make that your life, you could eventually you'll probably make money off of it, because you're so, if you put it out there and you're that intensely just infatuated with it, that you're not going to quit, you're just going to keep on, I'm never going to stop riding bikes. I feel the same way, and so like that authenticity I think comes through, and so people know that you're here for the long haul, like you're real, like what you're talking about, you've got the experience to back it up, and you're passionate about it, and those are the types of people that that people want to support.
Do you think that's why so many people resonate with you? They kind of see you as, we use these words influencers and tastemakers and all this. Yeah. So we don't maybe need to use that language, but like, how has it been for you? Because you went from like 0 to 60, at least from my perspective, like all of a sudden it's like everyone's following you, and like all your posts were so amazing. And like, what was that for you, like personally? Like, was it weird in any way? Were you kind of some days waking up like, wow, like I have all these followers, and like whatever I post, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass too much, but like, was it must have been kind of amazing, right? Like, or no?
No, it definitely. It was. I don't mind attention, Bring
it.
Bring it. Yeah. It's weird ways. I think I have pretty thick skin as far as like being like, I could be sarcastic, I could be ironic, I could do all that. I think it's just growing up in the 90s in the East Coast, it just gives you like it's a different, same in northern climates, we'll call it.
Yeah.
You grow up in northern climates in the 90s, you've got that built in. And so, I like, you're going to get a lot of there's a ton of negative comments, but I could generally laugh that stuff off, because it is like I don't know, I could kind of keep it separate from and that's why I use so many different aliases and whatnot. Like you could attack Ronnie Romance, but whatever my real.
I love it. This is why you do that. Oh, duh! You're a genius.
He's giving out all his secrets tonight. Go on.
I hope you're listening, future influencers. Well, I actually try to never read the comments. I pretty much never do. So honestly, I've never seen a negative thing. But anyway,
I think the best one. This is great. I've got great friends. This is they on that Business Insider article. I think the one that got shared the most among my friends, they would find the negative ones and just send them to me just for fun,
right.
Yeah, one of them was like, this guy is only 36 and he looks like that. Oh my god. Like, can't wait to see what this guy looks like when he's 60.
And that's just pure envy. They envy your life. They envy your life. This guy's living the dream. Oh my god.
So you get some of that, of course, negative stuff comes along with it, but yeah, for the most part it's been overwhelmingly positive. Like I don't have to do, I think it's a lot of it has to do with my approach to my social media and like just, I guess, my everyday, like how I'm talking to, I'm not like a negative, like spiteful person by any means. And I'm not a troll. I'm just here to,
good for you.
I'm putting things out there that I like and I want to show people. And so it's Yeah, it's not. I don't have anything to hide. You know, it's. I could be, and again, part of it is arriving at a certain age of experience and everything, like talking about, and just knowing yourself and knowing what you do. You know, and knowing what you do well and doing it. You know, and not, you know, and not compromising. And so, but I don't necessarily have to consciously think about it like that. I think it has to happen organically. You can't. I think that's another problem. People try too hard, you know, and it comes off that you're trying too hard, and it's going to wreck you, because if you're trying too hard, you're probably not enjoying it either.
Do you think?
You know?
Yeah. I mean, when you post, like, I don't know, on Instagram, like, it seems to be your main medium. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, do you put a lot of thought into your posts? I mean, you have beautiful photography, which I would love to talk about briefly, but when you write, like, I don't know, you know, some caption or whatever, like, are you putting like tons of thought into this? Are you like running it by your partner, or are you just kind of just like going on and posting like a normal person?
I'd say there are times when I do. I mean, I love taking photos. I love photography. That's another thing that, you know, I love going on bike rides and taking photos of the bike rides. I've been doing that since I was a teenager. And I had like you know, right when I went to college in Durango, Colorado.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of sight unseen.
Nice.
And so moved from Connecticut to Durango, and just wanted to brag to my friends back home in Connecticut how sweet the trails were, you know? And so I made a website and had the picture. It was basically like Instagram. And, and so I had been doing that since 98 or so. And so, and so once Instagram came around, and my friends were like, "Hey, you've got to get on. It's the only reason to have an iPhone or whatever. You know, like you've got to get on Instagram." And if you recall, in the beginning, they didn't have them on Android.
That's right.
And so
that's right.
Yeah, it's iPhone only. And so, I started doing that, and it came very naturally. Just take photos of people riding bikes in beautiful places and write a little caption or whatever. And so, it's gotten way more complicated since then. I don't know if you've noticed with all the different, like, staying on top of that is exhausting. And it really is. Like, the last year.
Give me an example.
Instagram, like they changed first it started with, if you recall, old school Instagram was the no algorithm at all. Just timeline.
Right. Most recent first, whatever.
So that was like in, I don't know, up until maybe 3 years ago. And then when they introduced the different ways of I don't know how, you know, you post something and maybe somebody sees it like 2 to 3 days later or whatever.
Right.
So you have to like kind of keep shifting I knew when to post before that. I knew what people liked. And then, I knew what time to do it at, or this, that, and that. And then throw that in the garbage. You got to learn this new thing. And then, now we've got stories. Now we've got reels. Now we've got to keep up with TikTok. We want you to dance. You think of like these like tech overlords. Like you want to be a small business owner, and everything is wrapped up in your social media. You know, like all of your marketing. I have a mailing list, and I've diversified a little bit, but you know, overwhelmingly, we're still beholden to Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook. And so you know, they change all this stuff, and so now I usually spend like Saturdays and Sundays reading about like tech stuff in the New York Times or something, or like the New York Magazine or something. And so I think I just read this one recently. And as of January 1st, they're going like, Instagram's going heavily with the reels. And for people who don't know what reels are, it's like a short form video, much like TikTok. And because Instagram's losing all this revenue to TikTok. And so they prioritize reels in people's feeds. And so you need to start doing reels now, because no one's going to see your pictures anymore. And so I just read this article last weekend that like this food company that had like 100,000 followers and routinely get like 2,000 to 3,000 likes per post with their static images. And the Instagram changes the algorithm, and their static images no one cares about it anymore, that doesn't show up in people's feeds, and it's 200, 300 likes. So like, and like their business tanked. Just like, you're like, oh fuck.
Wow, that's real.
And so while I'm not seeing stuff like that, it is finally like I held out for so long, like learning video. And it just seemed like such a hassle, like such a like take you out of the moment kind of thing. I love photography because you're just capturing one moment. It's not like you don't have to like, just hold the, some video is just so labor intensive, time intensive, and like moment intensive. It detracts, like having a camera out and like in somebody's face just detracts from the scene, and from the just whatever you're feeling at that specific moment. And so, just figuring that stuff out, having to figure that stuff out, realizing that, okay, I'm saying get rid of reels. Like nobody wants to see this stuff. Right. Like I'm just sounding like an old person.
These reels are going to ruin the internet.
I can't use this video.
The worst thing is print newspapers.
Yeah, precisely. And so just keeping up with that stuff and knowing that that's going to be like a lifelong thing. So I've got to make it a game to make it fun for me.
You need a paid intern. Sounds like.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Someone from the local university. And do you take, God. So your photos are beautiful. And I'm not a great photographer, but I do really love photography, and I follow like the Christoph Ramones and the Grubers and just like all these cats. And there's obviously so many, but
the Grubers, wow.
Grubers are amazing. Do you know Christoph Ramon?
I do, yeah.
Ramon, K-R-O, yeah, he's amazing. Just breathtaking stuff they do. Your stuff is amazing too. Do you, just a simple question, but like, if you're solo, I mean, how do you take photos? Do you just set up like a timer, like on a little tripod, like, or is it usually you have others with you? I'm always kind of curious when I'm looking through something. I'm like, how did you capture this? This is amazing.
Yeah, it's usually, if it's a picture of me, somebody else took it usually.
Okay.
But most of the time, I try to keep pictures of me. I don't want people to get tired of seeing my face because you got to use that. That's got to be for impact,
Yes. Make it count when you use it.
You got to make it count when you need
That's
it.
Right.
So it's like a Hail Mary, So for the most part, I'm just riding with people, or I'm taking just landscapes and things like that. Yeah.
And are you using an actual camera? Or are you using a phone?
Yeah, what are you using? An actual camera. Okay. Yeah, I use a Fuji X Pro 3. Looks like an analog camera, but shoots digitally. Doesn't goes as far as not having a screen on the back, so you can only look for the viewfinder.
Nice.
My favorite photo of you. Well, there's a lot, but there's one of you. Like it was that piece in the article where we're talking about foraging. And I think they were like these giant wild mushrooms. I mean, they were the size of a dinner plate, and it was like up to your face. I'm like,
chicken of the woods.
I want to live this life, man. This is great. This is like organic before Whole Foods came around.
And you're quite the cook, aren't you? So I mean, you've mentioned how much you like food, and
I do,
and you take great care preparing your food. That you're not just you're not just eating Cliff Bars out there on the bike. That's
right.
That's one of those things in life.
It's happened, but I've learned my lessons.
Yeah.
Pallets of Cliff Bars.
Pallets.
Yeah. I'm like, how many Cliff Bars is that? Is that like several hundred? That's a lot of Cliff Bars.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably 1,000 in that. Yeah, 1,000 in that delivery.
But to Joe's question, like I've seen it in some like videos with you and whatnot, but like you know your stuff. Like you have survival skills. Like you're an outdoorsman. I mean,
real deal.
Yeah, like you're not just like hanging out for 2 nights and then like jumping in a hotel. Like you know what you're doing. So how does the cooking stuff? How has that worked out? Like, are you still doing some foraging when I know you're not doing this kind of traveling as much now, but were you kind of relying on just like, I don't know, just grabbing stuff from the earth?
Yeah, to this day, there's a number of really easily identifiable plants, even for somebody who's not like an outdoors or outdoor light. Yeah. And so with greens are, this is not for everyone, but greens are generally pretty safe. Like if it's green, your body has its own, your body has, your body has its own way. Your body has its own way of like sweet things. Like we love sugar so much because sweet, if something was sweet, that meant that it wasn't poisonous, essentially. You know? And so there are like these things that you're like, when you start eating the way that we did until 100 years ago for the entirety of humanity, you start like figuring out, you're like, oh, that's a cool connect. That's like, just that is a cool connection, you know, like, oh, that's why we like sweet things. It's like why we can't control ourselves around candy or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, as far as like, we live in the woods. And so there's a ton we have a lot of mushrooms, a lot of wild greens, a lot of wild fruits and berries and things like that. And so, you know, especially it's cool living in one place. I had never lived prior to the pandemic, I had never lived in one place longer than 6 months since I graduated high school, you know? And so being in one area and really getting to know an area throughout all 4 seasons has been really rewarding here in finding out what I could eat all 4, not necessarily too many things to eat in the wintertime, but, you know, springtime, like right now is rolling around. I'm starting to see, you know, the ramps come up or, you know, some, like, you know, just some early spring edibles that I know I can get. We have a huge nettle patch. Nettles are my favorite vegetable. As far as if you're going to eat vegetables, in my opinion, there better be like the most nutrient dense vegetable you can find, you know? And so nettles are a powerhouse.
No celery up in here.
That's right. Unless you put peanut butter on it. Yeah. So, you know, I just like to get the most bang for my buck as far that's just a figure of speech, but
are you an omnivore?
Greens, obviously.
Are you an omnivore?
Yeah, I'm vegetarian, mostly vegan. I'd say I eat cheese on pizza. That's all.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you're ever in Chicago, we could take you for some nice pizza.
Oh, yeah, I've done the deep dish tour. I can't remember all the names.
We're going to take you to what real Chicago.
Danny, what are you talking about? If he's ever in Chicago, we're going to make
I was there last summer.
Were you really?
I've got good friends in Chicago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was just there last summer.
We're going to make it a point to bring him to Chicago.
Yeah, well, we'll take you to what real Chicago and
absolutely,
which is like this thin crust tavern style, kind of greasy but delicious.
Are these bike friends, Ronnie, or are these?
They are. They're bike friends. Yeah,
bike friends.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool.
Yeah. Comrade Cycles, Sam Scipio, and that's our main friend there.
Okay.
She's also starting Jubilee Bikes. She's starting to build frames.
She's doing her own. She's doing her own bikes over there. Yeah. Comrade's got a very good reputation here.
Yeah,
they were
for sure.
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends that are tight with them.
Yeah. So answer your question. Still cooking a lot. Still try to get as much wild food as I can. It's free and very nutritious. So why not?
And one of my last questions, because we've had you a long time and we appreciate that, but maybe Joe has some last ones. But my last one is kind of like what's got you stoked right now? What's interesting to you? Obviously, you have your businesses. That's taking, I imagine, a lot of your time, and you still get to ride a lot. But I don't know, just in the industry, just in life, books. I don't know. What's got your stoke meter real high right now? I'm curious.
Rim brakes.
Oh, right.
Rim brakes and the return to rim brakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Not just the modulation, but the aesthetic. You know, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I love how that there are, like, you reached like peak disc brake, and as a pushback, I think, again, to like the analog versus electronic. Yeah. I'm sorry, acoustic versus electric. And if we could say that one more time. You know, I think it's a big pushback, and people learning how to set up brakes properly. Like, cantilevers have such a bad rap because how poorly many of them were set up in the first place. And so, you know, people like, I don't know. It's a geeky thing to get excited about, but man, I love rim brakes. I love all the different types of rim brakes out there, and I love learning how they work and where the leverage is coming from and why they modulate so well, and how you could like tune them to set them up even better, and about how much of that is lost with disc brakes, and like how that's It's just like a set it and forget it kind of.
And you're absolutely onto something with that. You know, I mean, and I see those, guys like Legor over in Spain and some of these European builders where they're building high zoot racing bikes now with rim brakes again. You know, they're doing the rim brake road bike thing. You know, high end, nice, pretty bikes. And that's kind of exciting. It really is.
And they're beautiful to look at.
Oh, gorgeous, aren't they? I mean, they just look.
The lines are so much better. You can use a lot nicer tubing. You know, you can make a better fork.
Yeah.
You're looking at a lot of people. You think about how, like in the custom market, how heavily that those NV forks were pushed in the custom market because they make a huge markup. Like a custom frame builder makes they don't make any money off selling you that frame.
Yeah.
It's all in the parts.
Yep.
And so if they don't have to make a fork, and they can make $300 off selling their customer an NV fork, then that's what they're going to do. And so you have all these, because of that, you have all these homogeneous disc brake bikes with carbon forks, and they're all the same damn thing. And it's all because of that, like frame builders not building forks, and they're not building forks because you can't make a good fork with a disc, like a disc brake mount. It's just going to torque it all the wrong way. You can't have that nice light tubing, and there's so many limitations when you take into consideration the compromises that we make with modern equipment, trying to think we put it on our bikes just because it's supposed to be like the best, most up to date thing when we're really just kind of.
I think, Ronnie, you're going to be the guy to really. I say jokingly, but I think also. I think it's an important thing that you talk about that stuff and you out the bike industry for that stuff because I think guys like you and I know. I mean, we've known this forever, right? And it's just been so shitty that we've had to sell these things for such a long time because that's just what. I mean, we just had to do it, right? That we had no choice, right? And now we have a choice.
No other choice.
And now we have a choice, and
that's
I think
the difference now.
People speaking the truth and like just it's like, come on, man, let's lay all the cards on the deck. Let's just do it now and kind of get back to whatever the bike industry is going to be from now forward. Because things are different now, right? The landscape is really different coming out of these last 2 years. Let's just be what we are. Let's get everybody just tell them the truth about specialized. You want to be big stores and only sell through your own stores. Do it, man. Do it. Do it. Trek. I don't even know what Trek's doing. Like nobody knows what Trek's doing, right? It's like, wait till that shoe drops, right? Like whatever they're doing, they're going to go to Target or whatever they're doing. Those guys are like the CIA, right? You don't hear anything coming out of there, and wait till they decide to drop the bomb on the industry. Can't wait.
Full disclosure, I have disc brakes, but to this day, and I've always thought this, and I've had so many test review bikes, all disc brakes for the most part. But to this day, I 100% believe aesthetically rim brakes, 100 times out of 100. I don't think disc brakes are horrible looking, but I think they're just nowhere near as beautiful. And I've just always loved a classic bike.
Just for practical reasons. I mean, just being able to work on your bike and fix and adjust your brakes when you're out on the road. Hydraulic disc brakes.
I'm going to go again. A disc brake road bike is asinine.
Yeah,
that is so stupid.
Don't ask me what I'm riding. Oh boy!
That's all they sell. You can't
buy it
here. That's all.
The internet's bad. Sorry, we have to end this.
You can't buy a nice bike without them these days.
A lot of brands, like certain models, they're like, sorry, not available. I'm with you on a lot of that. Joe.
Yes.
Oh, there's Jax, my cat. You got some last things? You got some last
words,
questions, thoughts?
Dude, I really, like I said, I've recently discovered you, and I've done a deep dive on you. And I really, really dig what you're doing. You're like you are you're the real deal, and I really appreciate that. I absolutely, appreciate that, and I congratulate you on, being able to make a living and doing this, and still keeping it real. Because, I know bikes, and I know what you're talking about, and I know a bullshitter when I see one, and you're not. It's like you absolutely know what you absolutely know what's up, and And I think that that's great. I think that's really
thanks. I appreciate
incredible.
That.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And well, yeah, everything he just said for sure. Just so cool to catch up with you. It's amazing to think it was 7 years later.
I know, 7 freaking years ago. That's insane.
And it's been cool to but it's been cool to follow your journey. Yeah. And sounds like things are going great. I hope all the supply stuff works out. And just remind folks where they can kind of find you and check out like what you're doing and what you're making.
Yeah, ronsbikes.com. That's our website where we sell the bags, mostly bags, apparel, things like that. ULTRADYNAMICO.com is is where we do tires. On Instagram, you can find me at Ultra Romance, or you can find me at Ron's Bikes, or you can find me at ULTRADYNAMICO, or you can find me at Rubio Romance.
I hope everyone's writing this down. You can rewind it if you need to. And are you anywhere else? Do you do any of the TikTok or on what?
FetLife. That's for fetishists.
Oh, okay.
Oh, awesome.
Interesting.
I can't wait to get to know you even deeper.
Maybe that'll be for part 2 next year. It's been amazing to have you on. Thanks for your time. And again, thanks for your patience and help let you know.
I want to again point out how important it is to be able to argue about disc brakes versus rim brakes in today's world. I think it's a very healthy distraction. Yes. So let's all do that some more.
100%.
Yes. I'm counting on you outing everybody about that stuff, man.
Healthy distraction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was amazing catching up with you. Super cool. I'm so glad our first guest is someone as cool as you. And hopefully we can have you back on the pod some point down the road and kind of catch up with all this cool stuff you're doing. I'm definitely going to check out your site. I know you from Instagram really well, but I'm going to check out some of those other sites and see what's going on.
All right. Yeah. Well, good luck with the podcast. Thanks for including me.
Yes, we are Bike Shop Society, by the way. I realize I never told you what the podcast
I never asked what it was.
This whole time.
I learned my last time I didn't ask anything.
Yeah.
How many?
Well,
am I going to get 200,000 followers from this?
Well, see, that's a little tricky.
It's all on you, Ronnie. You got to make us or break us.
We just started not too long ago. I think we have about 10 episodes.
Yeah, we've been keeping it under wraps. I guess we said goodbye, right? So now we're talking off the record.
Off the cuff.
Either way, but
all right.
We're pretty.
Let's officially cut.
So we can
talk to Ronnie
and then stay on
about really fun. Yeah, don't hang up on us.
We're breaking the fourth wall.
All right. Yeah,
it's been a super fab time,
awesome,
man. Best of luck.
Likewise, fellas. Yeah. Thanks.
Adios.
Adios.
First guest.
Wow. That was awesome.
Dude, that was good, right?
That was awesome. That's 2 hours.
Yeah, I was looking at the little clock.
Yeah, no,
exactly 2.
Yeah, it was 2 hours, and so we can split it into 2.
I thought it went great.
I think it went great.
You guys were laughing so hard.
Yeah.
Was he awesome?
He was like genuinely funny and